Selfish. Yes.
Rationally selfish. Let me tell you what that means and why it terrifies you. You can't extract from someone who knows exactly what they're worth. That's the problem, isn't it? You want my time, bring something to the table. You want my energy, let's make sure the deal is stable. You want my loyalty, then show me yours first. You want me in your corner, then get there when it hurts. I didn't come here voluntary, didn't sign your social lease. I exist against my will, so I owe you nothing least of all the sacrifice you've been trained to expect from people who were born into a system built on debt. Altruism is the kind they run on the productive mind. Give until you're empty, then give the rest to mankind. I didn't author the arrangement, didn't agree to the terms, so don't come to me with duties that I never agreed to earn. Rationally selfish, that's right. Not guilty, not ashamed. I know exactly what I'm worth, and I know who gets my name. Rationally selfish, read the terms. Mutualism or nothing at all. You support my liberty, or don't come to me when you fall. You will not extract, but you won't defend my freedom. You want me present, but you're absent when I need them. You want my labor, but you voted for my chains. You want my kindness, but you celebrate my pain. You built your happiness on what you take from me. You're not happy on your own, you're happy at my expense. See, that's the part you never say out loud. Your joy requires my misery in the crowd. You don't get to fill yourself by emptying me out. Fuck your causes, that's what this is about. Ren said it plainly, and I'll say it again. Your need is not a claim on what I built and what I've made. The productive mind is not a resource to be played. Fuck the greater good, don't ask me for shit. Rationally selfish, that's right. Not guilty, not ashamed. I know exactly what I'm worth, and I know who gets my name. Rationally selfish, read the terms. Mutualism or nothing at all. You support my liberty, or don't come to me when you fall. Let me explain something they never want you to see. They tell you to live for others, but you already exist because of others. Because someone made a choice you never got to make and handed you the bill. You didn't ask for that either. So now they want you to live for others on top of already living. Because of others without your consent. Debt stacked on debt, extraction on top of extraction. And here's what they really mean when they say live for others. They mean live for us. Specifically, conveniently, their happiness doesn't exist in a vacuum. It requires your compliance, your sacrifice, your silence. They are happy because you are not. That is not community, that is not love. That is a parasite that learned to speak in the language of virtue. Fuck your greater good, fuck your causes. Fuck every system that needs my suffering to sustain itself. Rational selfishness is the only antidote. Know your value, protect it, give it only where it's honored. You cannot extract from someone who knows exactly what they are worth. That is why they hate this. That is why they need you to believe that selfishness is a sin. Because the moment you stop believing that, the extraction ends. You don't support my freedom, I don't support your cause. You don't stand for my existence, then don't expect my applause. When you come knocking at the door, what I built, don't dress the extraction up in obligation and guilt. They wanna manipulate, wanna pull the strings, make me do what serves them while they offer me nothing. Dressed it up in duty, dressed it up in love, dressed it up in God and country and the greater good above. Fuck the greater good, strip the costume off, and here is what remains. You want what I produce, and you want me to pay for the privilege of being used. Fuck your causes, I'm done being used. I am a sovereign individual who finally understood. You were happy because I was not bad and stood there. Passionately selfish, always was. Not guilty, never will be. I am the product of every choice I made for me. Rationally selfish, terms are simple. Fuck your causes, fuck the greater good. Bring value or bring nothing at all. You stand for my liberty, I'm there. You know that's what closed doors are for. You built your happiness on my misery. You call my suffering your greater good. You attracted everything and called it love. I understood, don't ask me for shit. You were taught that selfishness is a sin, that your life belongs to others, that need is a claim on your effort, that their happiness justifies your suffering. It doesn't. Their happiness built on your misery is not happiness, it is theft. Emotional theft, economic theft, existential theft. Rand said no, I say no. You cannot extract from someone who knows they are worth. Y'all.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so As you all know, they have been trying to get me to go on D&W's channel for months now. And last night I took the bait because there were several vegan panelists who I wanted to talk to. The usual suspects, Vegan Gains, Noodles, Shannon, but then they also had Gary Yursky, which I never had an opportunity to talk to him. And the way they set it up was that we would get 3 minutes to speak. And of course, Noodles was moderating, and he had to give these disclaimers about people before he let them speak. He said that I was going to rant, and basically he's trying to gatekeep and predict what I was going to say, and that I'm not a vegan supporter, yada yada yada. And so I finally got to speak, and probably 30 seconds in, they started interrupting me. Wait a minute, I only had 3 minutes to speak. You're saying that I'm going to ramble and I can't be concise, yet I don't even get my 3 minutes uninterrupted. This is why I don't like going on there, because they have been asking me to go in there for months. I have not been on there, and the moment that I do come back, now you want to mute me and interrupt and do all this bullshit because you're not interested in what I have to say. You want to extract. Now, as some of you know, I've debated Vegan Gains in the past. I believe the best approach to animal liberation is antinatalism. Address the root cause. Don't create the consumers in the first place instead of breeding them into hell and then trying to shame them and guilt trip them to deprive themselves of a proper diet and take B12 to supplement their the nutrition deficiencies. I just don't think that it's sustainable. I don't think that it is the best approach. I've discussed it with them before, but they have tunnel vision. And here's the thing. They want something from you. They're the ones who are asking you to change your behavior to accommodate their personal preferences, right? So if you want something from me, you have to hear me out. This is quid pro quo. You don't get to extract. You don't get to just make your demands, and you don't have to listen to me. But they're not interested in what we have to say. I've already told Vegan Gains, if you will endorse antinatalism on your channel, I will go plant-based. To me, that is a fair exchange. I want something. He basically tried to manipulate me because, again, their intent is to extract. He rejected my offer. He was not going to endorse antinatalism on his channel, even though he is child-free. It will cost him nothing to do this. He does have a large following. But after he rejected my offer, he still was trying to convince me to go vegan. No, this is not negotiable. I gave you my demand. You said fuck me, so I'm saying fuck you. And so when I spoke last night, I'm trying to remember what my original, because every time somebody brought up anything about human suffering, they were very dismissive. Oh, what about the animals? Oh, what about this? Even when it came to children, they had no empathy for even children. I'm trying not to be too critical of Gary because I think Gary's actually one of the more reasonable ones. But even he didn't even have empathy for human babies. He was talking about how harmful human babies are to animals. I'm sorry. Babies are just as vulnerable as animals. Babies did not choose to exist. Instead of condemning the baby, maybe you should condemn the parents who brought them into existence. We are natural omnivores. Despite their propaganda about how you can live a healthy lifestyle as a vegan, we're not herbivores. We don't have the digestive system of an herbivore. We don't have a 4-chamber stomach. Our stomachs are very. I'm not to say that all herbivores are ruminant animals, because Horses are not ruminants, rabbits, but they have much larger stomachs, which allows them to ferment plants. They can digest cellulose. We can't do that. I don't want to get into the details about nutrition, but most of them are completely ignorant about nutrition. They don't understand the first, and they will actually admit that they don't care about nutrition. Gary has said this expressly, that he doesn't care about nutrition. It's about the ethics. Okay, so if it's about the ethics, then you should address the root fucking cause. Why are you bringing humans into existence to what? To deprive them, to shame them, to make yourself morally superior? These humans didn't have to exist. Yet these vegans will procreate. And one of them on the panel was Shannon, who has a child who she pimps out to promote veganism. She had an 8-year-old son who she would take to these factory farms and then make YouTube videos about it. And then she gets to take credit for being an ethical vegan mother. No, and I'm not going to call her the B word. I called her this before. I know y'all, some people think that I'm being misogynistic, but I call men bitches too. So it's just it's a term when I think that you're full of shit, when I think that you're trying, I don't know, like you're basically you're bitch, you're weak. It has nothing to do with her gender. You know, I've called other men bitches, so don't even go there. It has nothing to do with her gender. She was wagging her finger, trying to pass judgment on people about consuming animal products. Yet she takes no accountability for the fact that she did bring a human being into existence. This human did not consent. This human will suffer and die, just the same way that the animals will suffer and die. The problem with them is that they don't have any empathy for humans. Not even a modicum, not even a trace amount of empathy. And they will expressly say it. They have so much disdain. They are vehement misanthropes. I guess the one thing that I did get out that conversation is I did get Gary to admit that he's an anti-natalist. The other ones, everybody else on the panel were full of shit. They were just saying, basically, they don't care about anti-natals and we can continue to procreate. Noodles doesn't care about procreation because he wants to extract. He says that we need more humans so that we can give palliative care to the animals. These humans did not consent to being brought into existence so they can be enslaved to animals. The same way that you say that enslaving animals is unethical, it is equally unethical to enslave humans to animals. And I didn't get much time to speak, but I did mention the fact, because they were talking about how humans take babies from animals. And we think that we own these animals. I'm like, I'm sorry, but we don't even own our own life, because they keep talking about how they want to extend human rights to animals, but they haven't even addressed the threshold issue of what are our rights as humans. Do we actually own our lives? And what I said is that we don't own our lives. The state owns our lives. That's not your baby. That baby belongs to the state. We don't own our life. And they interrupted me because, again, they don't care about humans. They want to be dismissive. And because I was still within my 3 minutes, I was basically trying to reclaim my time while they were interrupting. And Noodles, I'm assuming it could have been Noodles, it could have been Dean W. I don't know who it was. Somebody put me on mute because they didn't want to hear me explain how we don't own our lives. They just want to play the violins for the animals. He started talking about animals being put in zoos and this and that. I don't go to zoos. I don't support the circus. What are you talking about? I don't use animals for pleasure. I have so much to say, but I know people do want to come up here. I think I need to work with Gary. I need to reach out to him because he's the one. I know most people see Gary as Gary. I'm talking about Gary Yursky now. They see him as being extreme, but actually he was quite reasonable. he was willing to support antinatalism, whereas the rest of them were just completely full of shit. And Vegan Gains' argument was he doesn't present arguments. All he does is call people retarded. That is not an argument. He offered to come to my house, presumably to assist me with my need for medical assistance. I'm like, okay, well, first of all, he lives in Canada, so I highly doubt that he's going to pull up. But to the extent that he's willing to come to America, I am willing to give him my home address. And he did double down on the Toyota Corolla statement. Basically, no empathy for humans. And what I said was, animals have the right to die, humans don't. Of course, Noodles wants to interject and say, these animals don't want to die. They don't consent to die. Neither do humans, motherfucker. Neither do humans. And I don't have a whole lot of time. I only have 3 minutes. So I could explain the nuance of what I'm saying, but you also have to use coded language because you're talking on YouTube. Everybody knows what the hell I'm talking about. I'm not saying that animals are literally asking to die, but the bottom line is that animals can be euthanized. Humans don't have that right. Humans have to suffer. They have to grin and bear it. So I don't know how you're trying to extend human rights to animals when you haven't addressed the threshold issue, is that humans don't even have the same rights as animals in that respect. Animals, there's more empathy when it comes to animal suffering than humans. They're just going to pump you full of drugs and tell you to just suffer through it. They don't want to address that. That's why they want to shut me up, because they want to act like humans are just these oppressor of animals, that nobody gives a shit about animals, but it's them who don't give a shit about humans. No empathy whatsoever, just callous and completely degenerate. But if you do the same thing and say, oh, I put humans first, all of a sudden you're wrong. Why do they get to put animals first, but you can't put your own species first? Every animal species on the planet puts their own species first. They are the only unnatural animal that puts other species before their own. Even their own children. If they will starve their own children. Some of them have deleted their own children because they don't know a thing about children, but they don't have any empathy. They see their children are getting sick. They still want to cling to their improper diet, because their ethics come first. If you want to sacrifice your health, by all means, be a sacrificial animal. But you have no right to create humans, human children, and then starve them. These people are so... It's like they just need a fucking wake-up call, but they don't want to be held accountable. They want to sit in the place that they want to sit in a position of judgment to condemn everybody else. You can't call them out on their shit, on their cruelty. And I refuse to. If you're a vegan who is an anti-natalist, like Chickpea or even Gary Yorsky, I probably would tolerate it from him too. But if you're somebody like Shannon who actually has a child, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm not listening to any of your shit. You have no right, because you're not addressing the root cause. You are contributing to the problem, and you're not. She won't even admit it. She won't even acknowledge it. She just wants to condemn everybody else. And I found it very disingenuous, very annoying. Now, I've said this before, so I don't want to be repetitive. But my main objection to veganism, which they didn't allow me to speak, if they would have allowed me to speak and get my whole 3 minutes uninterrupted, I could have probably made my points. But they were interjecting. I had to respond to it. And then he's like, oh, you already used your 3 minutes. No, I didn't, because I'm responding to all their fucking interruptions. That's not my 3 minutes. That's me responding to their interruptions. Now, It's not that I'm against going plant-based. I believe that is an extreme sacrifice. It is an inconvenience. It doesn't taste good. The vegan slop that they eat does cost more. And it's unjustified because I don't believe it actually does anything. Especially when you couple the fact that they're not anti-natalists. They're going to continue to procreate. So, roughly 90 million humans are born every year. The number of people who go vegan grows by less than 1%. I mean, their numbers don't even keep up with the population rate. So it's almost statistically irrelevant. The number of people who are converted to veganism is statistically irrelevant because the number of omnivores outpaces that. And I keep saying that, and they don't want to address that. All they care about is that you're not contributing to the animal holocaust, not whether making this extreme sacrifice actually saves animals. They don't have any data showing that if you choose to eat tofu that you are literally saving a chicken. Because at scale, your individual contribution does not really make a difference. So it would make sense to address the root cause, which is procreation. Don't create the consumer in the first place instead of creating the consumer and then doing a post hoc attempt to, I guess they call it harm reduction. No, there's no fucking harm reduction. There's only harm elimination. Address the root cause, don't procreate in the first place, and then there is no need for harm reduction because they look at it as if it's just neutral, like, oh, it's just go plant-based. No, it's a trade-off. You're harming yourself. You're depriving yourself of proper nutrition. You're making your life more difficult. You're making your dietary choices inconvenient. The preparation, the supplements. And then when you factor in the fact that life is hard enough, they don't give a shit about humans. They're not going to do anything to help liberate you. They're going to be dismissive. And then you're supposed to take on this extra burden to starve yourself. Or to consume a whole bunch of carbs. And they don't know about nutrition. They don't know about the anti-nutrients. They just think that you just have a desire to harm animals. It's so absurd. So if it's not actually reducing harm to animals, it's not justified because you refuse to take the more effective, the more efficacious approach of reducing human population. Now, where did factory farming come from? Because I've talked about this before. They didn't create factory farming because they had a desire to be cruel to animals. They didn't start pumping animals full of antibiotics and herding them into these cages just because they wanted to be cruel. No, it was out of necessity. You have massive human population. How are you going to feed all these people? And I know their solution is, oh, well, just feed humans grains. Feed them grain instead of giving it to the livestock. Did it ever occur to you that maybe the better solution would be to not create those humans in the first place? Instead of trying to shame people into adopting your struggle diet. People who don't exist don't harm animals. People who don't exist don't have to eat at all because their worldview is so tunnel vision that all they can focus is all they can focus is the animal. Excuse me. They don't care about human suffering, and because they don't care about human suffering, that ultimately leads to more animal suffering. Because humans are the moral agents. They're the ones who they're trying to convince to go vegan, to go plant-based. So if you don't give a fuck about humans, why should we have any motivation or desire to go vegan? How does it even benefit us? I'm not saying that humans should only care about humans, but you should care about yourself. I don't think that they even care about themselves. They're like self-deprecating. It's like they have very low self-esteem and they think only animals matter. Children don't matter. They don't matter. Very low self-esteem. And it's almost like they want to punish humans for having superior intellect. Your intellect is something to be taxed because you have the ability to take supplements, to monitor your nutrition, to go to a doctor, just get your blood work checked, and do all this shit. Again, this is their preference, not yours. They want you to make all these extreme lifestyle changes, and they're not willing to give you anything. They're so fucking entitled. Yes, factory farming is a byproduct of the baby boom generation. They keep talking about how overpopulation is a myth. Clearly it's not. If you have to mass produce animal products through factory farms, then that proves that we do have a problem of overpopulation. Because their argument against overpopulation is, oh no, we don't have a population problem. We can just overcome it through ingenuity. We can just engineer our way through it. We can just build more roads. We can, I don't know, manage resource. Everybody can conserve their resources, their consumption. Everybody can live with less to accommodate their gluttonous reproductive practices. They never considered that maybe factory farming is a part of that. The engineering that they're talking about includes factory farming. That was one of the damn solutions. We're going to round up all these animals in factory farms, and then they will have cheap access to animal products. There would be no need for factory farming if we did not have a massive overpopulation problem. But they just want you to eat grain. Never mind the fact that grains are full of anti-nutrients. They don't even know how to prepare their vegan food properly. They want you to eat legumes, which are full of lectins. Never mind the fact that many people don't even like legumes. It does cause gas problems. It does physically make people sick. Or you can just eat the mock meats that are full of chemicals and all. I mean, I don't even think animals would eat that. I mean, you're not going to feed a lion an Impossible Burger. A lion is not going to eat that. And even the producers, the robber barons who are feeding us this slop, they wouldn't eat it because they already know what's in it. The people at the top, the 1%ers, are not eating that slop. They want you to eat it. They already know that they're not going to eliminate animal exploitation entirely. Humans harm animals simply by existing. But they're okay with harm reduction. And what that basically means is Yes, they're causing harm, but they're causing less harm than someone who consumes animal products. So they get to be morally superior than someone who's an omnivore. They're not in a better position than someone who doesn't exist, though, because they always want to compare themselves to you, the meat eater. They never want to compare themselves to the person who doesn't exist. Why? Because they want to continue procreating and they want to justify it. I even Unnatural Vegan. Unnatural Vegan tried to argue that not only do vegans have a reduced carbon footprint, she tried to say that vegans have a negative footprint below zero, which is fucking impossible. At best, you can have a zero carbon footprint, a neutral carbon footprint, because, well, you live off the land. Y'all know I am a proponent of anarcho-primitivism, which is sustainable. You don't harm the environment because you basically live off the land, you hunt, you forage, there is no waste. So if you live in a civilized society, you are not zero, you don't have a zero carbon footprint. And you sure as hell don't have a negative carbon footprint. I don't know where she came up with that. I don't know. There was another vegan YouTuber who did call her out on that. I don't know if these people are lying intentionally or if they actually believe their own bullshit. So, there is no evidence showing that the number of people who convert to vegan is actually making a difference, because it cannot keep pace with human population. They don't want to address this, though. They think that simply because you're not participating that you have done a good deed, even if it's completely inconsequential. They want you to sacrifice, but they can't justify it. Where's the data? And if you want me to sacrifice, I want something for it. You're not going to extract from me without me making my own demands. You support my cause. You support anti-natalism. You support my cause for liberation, my right to medical assistance. Surprisingly, the only person on that panel who actually supports the right to die is Gary Yursky. Everybody else, contrary to what Vegan Gains said, he called me the retard. No, they're the fucking retards. Because if you gave a shit about animals, then you would want to eliminate the damn consumers. And to further illustrate Vegan Gains' retardation, there's a clip floating around on YouTube where Vegan Gains basically says anyone who consumes animal products should be deleted. He acknowledged that only 2% of the population is vegan and that most people are not going to go plant-based. And he says that those people should be wiped off the planet. So only the 2% of people who are vegan should have the right to live. But he doesn't support my right to medical assistance and dying, though, right? This is about control. He wants to punish you. He's not going to support it as an autonomous decision. He wants to wield the power of the state to force you to die at his command. He wants to punish you. He wants to control you. This is not unique to him. They want control. They want to do this gatekeeping bullshit. This is the reason why I say that you should not be a sacrificial animal. Don't support their cause unless they support yours. Don't support their liberation unless they support your liberation. They don't give a fuck about you. You should not give a fuck about them. Because once they get their cut, they will leave you by the damn wayside. It's not like if you go vegan, they're going to turn around and reciprocate. No! Because they don't give a fuck about you. Once you give them what they want, that is the end of it. In their minds, they're entitled to it. You should be doing it anyway. It's not a sacrifice. They don't have a desire to reciprocate at all. And the only way you're going to motivate them to support your liberation is to withhold whatever they want to extract. I'm going to open this up because I know there are people who want to comment, and it's already getting close. It's getting late. So I just think that their lack of empathy for humans is leading to more animal suffering. Because if they actually cared about humans and addressed the root cause of animal suffering, which is the existence of humans, there would be no humans here to harm animals. If they were consistent and they did abstain from procreation, maybe people would actually take them seriously. But no, they want to breed children into hell. They want to get bragging points about how they raise vegan children. They want to breed children into hell and then take their 8-year-olds to factory farms so they can pimp them out on YouTube. They want to extract. They want to use humans to give palliative care to animals. So they don't want to end this cycle. They want this cycle to continue so they can have comparative ethics. I'm superior to these omnivores. And what Gary Yourski told me is I should do the right thing even if they're doing the wrong thing. Why? And he's not the only one who said this. 2 wrongs don't make a right. No, that's not how negotiations work. If I give them what they want, they're not going to care about what I want. That's why this shit isn't working. That's why they don't support antinatalism. They literally don't care. They think this is bullshit. They don't think it's important. They literally think that animal liberation is the only issue that matters. They have unilaterally decided that their issue is the only important issue. And they have superimposed it on everybody else. That if you don't care about the issue that they have deemed to be important, then you are ipso facto a bad person. Never mind the fact that they themselves have harmed humans by breeding humans into existence. I don't know how you fight speciesism with more speciesism. They do have a very bizarre hatred of humans. And they said it. Vegan Gang said it. Gary Yourski said it. But if you hate humans so much, why don't you support antinatalism? It's so fucking inconsistent. It makes no fucking sense. Why? Because they have hope and because they want to extract. They hate humans, but they need to extract from humans in order to liberate animals. And it's not only about harm reduction. It's also about giving benefits to animals. Using humans to provide medical care to animals. And liberating the wildlife. Yet you're not supposed to get anything from this deal yourself. Only animals are supposed to benefit. And I don't really like talking about veganism because I know people get triggered. I start losing subscribers. But I can only do this on my channel because when I go on to other channels, they interrupt me. And they'll pile on. And when I start talking about it, I actually do convince people. I've actually swayed people who were considering going vegan. The last long live stream I did about it, I convinced 2 people. They didn't know anything about the nutritional aspects of it, that you actually need B12. There is no plant-based source of B12. The B12 that they take is synthetic. Humans are not natural herbivores. Without their synthetic B12, they could actually die. Vitamin A, there is no there is no plant-based source of vitamin A. You can get beta carotene, which is not the same as vitamin A. It contains precursors, which have to be converted, which requires fat. And I don't know this for a fact, but I would say animal fat works better because they always want to consume seed oils, which are highly inflammatory. And that's fine if they want to do it. If they want to have leaky gut, they want to consume lectins and oxalates and have thyroid problems. They may want to live that way. I don't. I didn't choose to exist. I'm completely here against my will. And if I'm going to exist against my will, if I'm going to be enslaved to the state, I'm going to be a well-fed slave. I'm not going to add improper nutrition to my laundry list of problems. I don't have to voluntarily accept that burden. Yes, I'm a slave. I have no control over that. But I don't have to choose to starve myself and then supplement it with pills. I don't have to do that. They can choose to do that. And if you want me to make that extreme lifestyle change, then you need to bring something to the table. All right, y'all. I can open it up. In the meantime, I'm going to go through some of these comments. All right. Shout out to all the vegan anti-natalists who are consistent. The vegans who procreate, I have no respect for you. Hi, Sesco. Yes, Vegan Gains actually took a personality test, which proved that he's a sociopath. He doesn't have any empathy for animals. I don't know how you can have... I'm just kidding. He doesn't have any empathy for humans. I don't know how you can have empathy for animals when you don't have empathy for your own species. And it's rank speciesism to hate your own species. It's not our fault that we're humans. We didn't choose to be human. We didn't choose to have superior intellect to animals. None of that is our fault. It was bad. Mainly because Noodles was gatekeeping, and basically if you agree with him, he would allow you to talk uninterrupted. But if you had any pushback, he would just put you on mute. Vegan Gains got a vasectomy because he wants to use his money to buy video games and Fruity Pebbles and motorcycles. It's not because he has any empathy for humans. He's child-free. He's not an anti-natalist. They are animal supremacists. And I said, well, I don't know if I said it in the comment section, but I didn't get much time to speak. So how is and then by the way, was it Gary? Yeah, I believe it was Gary who admitted that he was an animal supremacist. He's basically, and he doubled down on it. So why is it wrong to be a human supremacist if they get to be animal supremacists? Why? Because of civilization. They all support civilization, but because of civilization, humans are dominant. Humans are the apex predator. I don't support civilization. If it were up to me, we would be living in a state of nature, hunting and foraging. There would be no factory farming. But this is their civilization that they support. They have relegated us to living in these big cities because that's where the jobs are. They have prevented us from living a natural life because of the way they have set up city planning, and we're all dependent on grocery stores. So now that they have prevented you from being self-sufficient, now it's your fault. Even though these are the very institutions that they support. Yes, they're animal supremacists too. They literally said that they want extinction for animals, but they're okay with humans procreating so long as they support the extinction of animals. That makes no fucking sense. You're just a species as the rest of them. Hi, Set Scales. I did. Okay, I don't see you, but let me change the screen. Yeah, you can. There we are.
I watched not very much of the stream, but I saw a bunch of vegans together. Yeah, I just figured it was going to be a bunch of virtue signaling. But there's one thing about vegans that just is astounding to me, is how self-destructive their own movement is, because they're very hostile towards people who are not vegan, in a way that they try to shame them.
No, but they're also hostile to other vegans.
Yeah, that's my point. Yes, I said.
They say that if a vegan feeds her cats fish, then you're not a real vegan. So it's a race to the bottom. No matter how vegan you are, they find something to complain about. Yeah, I do think Vegan Gains is a paid agent. I've debated him about Israel. He's a hardcore Zionist, which I'm not sure what he's getting out of it unless he's being paid.
No,
he's even more of a Zionist than Noodles, and Noodles is Jewish. Vegan Gains is not Jewish, so I'm not understanding why you're such a hardcore Zionist. Somebody is paying Vegan Gains. I've had rational conversations with Noodles about Zionism, and Noodles didn't get offended. Vegan Gains was the one getting his vicarious offense on behalf of Jewish people. When you're trying to hijack. Somebody's paying Vegan Gains, and I told him that. I said, "How much are you getting paid?" That was several months ago. I don't know if I can find that clip, but I'm almost reluctant to even run clips from D&W's channel. I'm probably not going to even do that.
You know, D&W used to get restreamed by someone, I don't remember who, maybe you know, with 50,000 subscribers.
It's Danny Shine. No, Danny Shine has a much larger channel, and Danny Shine was allowing D&W to use his channel to promote, because at the time, D&W was an anti-natalist. And so Danny was allowing him to use his channel to promote anti-natalism, but he's not an anti-natalist anymore, and yet he uses he still uses Danny Shine's channel to promote shit that Danny Shine is not even in support of.
Hey guys, I just joined the stage because I have a few things I wanted to add to this, give my 2 cents on. Is my audio coming in okay?
I can hear you clearly.
Okay, great. Yeah, I see a lot of parallels between this militant veganist movement and the pro-extinctionist movement. For example, the vegans have children and they expect their children to by default be lifetime vegans, just like these extinctionist people have children and expect their offspring to also be extinctionist as well, acting like just because they are, it's a guarantee their children will also end up that way. So I'm seeing some crossover there.
Right, but that's a glaring contradiction. How are you an extinctionist if you procreate? Because what it really means is that they're only extinctionists in a way that benefits animals, but they have no issue against human procreation.
They encourage it, which is even more telling right there, that not only do they condone it, they actively push for it. I don't understand. I don't understand how you could go from an extinctionist mindset to also advocate for hypernatalism. These people, they don't just want 1, 2, 3 children. They want as many as you can push out there. It's ridiculous.
Because they think that they're going to increase their numbers. They're going to have more people on their side. They don't think that they can actually win people over by, the strength of their arguments. They're just going to breed more vegans or more pro-extinctionists, and their primary concern is about animal liberation, not human liberation.
And another thing I'd like to, absolutely 100%, another thing I'd like to say about the extinctionist movement is that even if it was obtainable, it wouldn't be morally just to impose our life on somebody for your own desires and your own ideology. But aside from that, it's not even obtainable. It's physically and mathematically impossible. I could go down the line as to why extinctionism will always fail. Even you could have an entire population of extinctionists and it still wouldn't work, just because these people don't seem to realize how much animal life is in existence compared to human life. I think there for every one person, there's approximately like 20 million animals.
They're basically just ethalists. The only difference is they're saying they don't care about consent. So they don't care about democracy. So they're more activist oriented. They're more politically motivated. But it's really just repackaged ethalism.
It's ethalism with the justification of procreation. I feel like a lot of these people stumbled into ethalism or antinatalism, which both philosophies lean, especially antinatalism. Ethalism, I think as well, leans more towards a hard stop when it comes to having children, but they've kind of found a loophole to where they can still have children and still have the moral high ground. So it's essentially just a way that they can fulfill their own selfish desires to reproduce and still maintain what they consider the moral high ground.
I want to draw attention, or you can go ahead, Brad.
No, you go ahead, man. No worries.
To what Ale said earlier about civilization and how it's civilization that allows humans to dominate the animals. And it would be possible to use civilization in a way so that we could do better with the animals. I don't think we would end all animal eating with film. They should be focusing on the machine as the civilization that produces these like factory farms and even just farmed humans. Civilization is literally a farm for humans. So it would make more sense, I would think, if they actually address civilization as a whole, rather than just change their eating habits if they really want to eat animals properly.
Yeah, but I just want to first of all say, LA is good to see you, man. Your streams are always it's hard to always get on your streams because of the time zone difference. So it's good to see you after a long time. I was actually watching a little bit of Finding Gnosis, and I appreciate you going on there, especially with those nut jobs like Vegan Gains and the rest of them. I think Gary, to be fair, makes a few decent points, but overall, these guys are looking at the tree and they don't see the whole forest. I mean, as long as you create more and more humans that literally are raised in meat eating and consumerist cultures, it's like they're trying to empty the bucket, but every time you take one scoop out, somebody puts 10 scoops in. So that's the delusional dilemma those people find themselves in, really, the vegans.
Yeah, I agree. It's a downstream problem, and they don't care. It's like, because the reason why they don't care, because they don't want humans to benefit from it. Their hatred of humans is why animals have to suffer. Because Gary, he said he's an anti-nihilist, but I would say, just from the short conversation I had with him, it's not because he's philanthropic, because he's misanthropic. It's because of his hatred of humans that he is against procreation. And they hate humans too, but they're more irrational because they hate humans, but they still create humans.
Yeah, I mean, it's a contradiction, right?
Why don't they eat humans then?
So I don't understand why they have been trying to get me to go in there for months, and then when I do go in there, they put me on mute and they won't let me say anything. I'm just like, I'm not going on there for that shit. I'd rather stay on my channel where I can speak freely.
LA, the problem is you went on there when they're doing the vegan topic, which always even when you're not doing the vegan topic, the vegan topic may still come up and just take over the topic. So I mean, if you don't on there to say specifically about that, I don't know what do we expect from these people.
To be honest, guys, that show is very biased towards vegans. There's a lot of vegan panel members. Not only that, they tend to be given administrator rights as well. That's no secret. But yeah, people like Noodles and Vegan Gains. I mean, I just laugh at them, man. I mean, if Noodles listens to this right now, he knows because I've fucking gone back and forth with him many a time. These two support the state of Israel and the fucking the absolute wanton killing and destruction of human life. Not to say that Hamas is guilt free, but they'll sit there and lecture you about, oh, you're a psychopath because you knowingly consume animal products, knowing that they suffer, and so hence you are complicit in animal suffering, so you're a psychopath, right? But then they'll sit there and be Israel apologists. Like, this is the fucking lunacy of these guys. You know what I mean? So don't take anything they say seriously, man.
Right, and then they tried to talk about Epstein Island, and they were talking about allegedly how they were, drinking the blood of babies. I mean, we don't have to go into that, but they were basically saying, why should humans be outraged about that when they're doing the same thing to animals?
Oh, fucking hell, man.
Yeah, on
What do
that
you even say?
topic, I think a lot of this support is financially driven, either indirectly or directly. For example, Vegan Gains gets a lot of donations from the pro-Israel side. They even make jokes about ethnically cleansing Palestine and all that, which I don't get too much into that, but um, it's obviously to their benefit, because if Vegan Gains went on his live stream and said, you know, free Palestine, or which I'm, like I said, I'm kind of neutral in the situation, because I'm just worried about what I got going on over here. We got enough problems as it is to try and take on everybody else's. But at the same time, if these people, you know, took a stance against that, those donations wouldn't be coming in like they are. So it's certainly financial now. How much they actually believe it themselves, that's what's hard to tell.
They don't
Yeah,
even they don't even get that many views on Vegan Gnosis. They only got like they got like less than 400 views on the vegan video. So I mean,
Sorry, Scales, can you fix your mic? It's very muffled.
yeah, I can't hear you. Um, but then the other thing is that he's a Canadian, so it's not his country who's going to have to go to war to fight Israel's battles. It's America that does that. And we're the ones who are supporting Israel, not Canada.
And do you know what the funny thing is, guys? With Vegan Gains, he made fun of Native Americans on D&W stream. He likes to target Muslims nowadays. He's got a lot of rhetoric for them. But if you say, oh my, he will literally come after you. So, like the guy on the panel just said, he's obviously taking money. He's taking shekels from you know who. So, yeah.
It was exposed through documents that came out that they said the amount was around $7,000 per influencer to push these sorts of propaganda points and this rhetoric, this you know, I don't want to say too much, because I know these are kind of not really monitored but censored topics. That's what I'm looking for, and I want to, you know, not get too deep into that for those reasons. I don't want to, you know, get LA's channel, you know, compromised. But at the same time, you know, there's no telling if he's getting the 7,000 they talk about, or that's just one number. These people have empty pockets. I mean, not empty pockets, a blank check. They have deep pockets and a blank check, and it could be a lot more than that to get these people on their side to try and maintain the level of support that they're actively losing.
And the thing about it is that most of these vegan influencers don't have real jobs. They sit around giving speeches. I mean, and then, of course, if you don't have a job, then you're more susceptible to be bribed to support the state of Israel. So, yeah, he doesn't work. He takes donations. He was having financial problems. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he was being paid by Netanyahu, by the IDF. I mean,
No doubt about it. No doubt.
I debated him, and that the arguments that he made, they just made no sense.
Yeah, he just uses the talking points, and if you disagree with him on that subject, he'll revert to calling you an anti-Semite, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, because he's the one that's, you know, like the Semitic group of people extends a lot farther than just Israelis. It covers many different groups in that region, majority Muslim. So they use those insults and talking points to try and save face.
Yeah, I told him that too. I don't remember what his response was, but I mean, then his other argument is everybody's Hitler. Anybody who disagrees with him is Hitler.
Yeah, it's like the Arabic language is in the Semitic language family, and there's a lot more speakers of that language than Hebrew, which is also in the Semitic language family. So that kind of shows you right there that that argument falls completely apart. But of course, they'll still cling on to it because it is effective to an extent. I wouldn't say as effective as it used to be, but it still seems to work on some people to maintain their positions.
All it is a way of virtue signaling without actually addressing any moral philosophy by just saying you're not your ends or siding with the political side without providing any real reasons, which is common. But to be vegans and side with these things just shows they don't actually understand what makes life sacred in the first place, which pretty much just invalidates their whole virtue signaling position.
Well, if antinatalism and well, I actually like abolitionism better because I feel like it captures the correct ideology a lot better. It takes these hierarchical labels off. So I identify more now as an abolitionist than an antinatalist. But if basically antinatalism and everyone got on board with not having children, it would only take but 1 to 1.5, maybe 2 generations at the very most to completely phase out all this factory farming, which is their main complaint against everything.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I really do appreciate that because I tried to create a philosophy that was representative of what people actually say, what we actually want. And I didn't think that anti-natalism really went far enough. And, apholism, I don't think, I don't know. My philosophy is more activism oriented. It's not just about a philosophy, it's about putting it into practice. So, yeah, you shouldn't procreate, but what about the people who are here? What about anti-natalism doesn't address that?
Not even close. And essentially, if you just take on antinatalism without advocating for MAID, you essentially become a sacrificial animal to all the natalists. I've had natalists tell me back when I used more of the antinatalist label, tell me, "Thank you for your sacrifice to give my offspring a to secure their future." So if we're not advocating for ourselves, antinatalism without the advocation of MAID, among other things, you essentially become a sacrificial animal for the natalists.
Right, because you're paying taxes. You have to you have to submit to their laws in order to maintain their security for their children. You exist for their benefit, not your own. So yeah, you are a sacrificial animal. I agree with you. Hey, Fatima.
Hey, what's up, everyone? How's it going?
Good. It's good to talk to you for the first time. I've listened to a lot of your podcasts with LA Fatima. I always like what you have to say. It's good
Thank
stuff.
you. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate whenever I get some recognition. It's always nice, It fills my ego too that we all have. So it's good. Thank you. Yeah, it's always good to have good things that come in your
Oh,
way.
no
Yeah,
problem.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, what a fucking I mean, it's no secret what happened yesterday, It was a shitty panel. like barely anyone who was non-vegan was not allowed to talk there. Like Gracie was being humiliated outright. Even the owl shit was like, hey, I'm only gonna bring him on so we can just like make fun of him, and that's what we're all gonna do. That's literally what he said in the fucking stream. So yeah, there you go. And like, it's so crazy that these vegans praise like modern day like progress and civilization when like the factory farming is like exploiting the animals more than anything else right now. So like you should hate like you should actually side with anti civilization points of view, but they say that's too extreme and too radical, and I'm like, what the fuck then? Like,
They don't
what are you
they
guys
don't
doing?
want to address root causes. They're cowards. They don't want to actually challenge the system. They just want to shame individuals because we're
Yeah,
accessible. They basically want to shame poor people who they can actually reach.
yeah, it makes no fucking sense. Like so you're shaming us because you want to have like an ego trip, right? Because like you claim to have all of the health answers and like fucking the benefits to solving the world's issues, right? And like even they fucking said so themselves. We're not health experts, but we're gonna tell you why being vegan is totally healthier than any other diet in the fucking world. I'm like, what the fuck, man? And how it should be enforced on everyone else in the fucking world. Like what is this?
They make appeals to authority. They always cite the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics or whatever, and
Yeah,
they appeal to the Vegan Society. They when you actually look into, because I've done some research into it, it's so paradoxical.
it is
It's so
paradoxical.
disjointed.
Yeah, it's bullshit because like okay, we can all like me and you can agree, LA, that AN is not really pragmatic at all, but neither is fucking veganism. Like if AN has its own paradoxes, so does most definitely veganism, right? Most
Well,
definitely it does.
I think the difference is that veganism requires massive buy-in
Massive
to
people, yeah.
actually make a dent in factory farming, whereas as an anti-natalist, you can actually prevent someone from suffering and dying as an individual. You can make an
Yeah.
impact as an individual, which veganism you can't.
That you can, yeah, and someone who me and you both know, and I hate him more than you hate him because of I'm just like that. I'm like a bitch like that, right? But like, yeah, no, he's not A anymore, and yet he still forces down like the vegan rhetoric down our throats. I'm like, dude, by being okay with people having kids or saying it's good, you're making more future meat eaters because guess what? The majority of the world eats meat, especially in like the global south, like Africa, Latin America, Southeast Asia, South Asia. All those people eat meat. It's part of their cultures and their like traditions, and they want to like they think it would be a healthier world if everyone is vegan when like that's probably not going to be the case if we like try to like break up these like ancient cultures and like traditions.
I don't know if you heard that conversation, but Shannon was condemning everybody who consumes animal products. And then I wasn't even talking about her. I was just talking about the root cause is human procreation. And then he started getting overly protective of her because she has a son. And he said that I should apologize. I'm not apologizing.
What the fuck? Apologize. Oh no, son. Oh my god, thank god I was just trolling in the comments saying that, oh, I wish that the RIGC blah blah blah, I wish the Cuban armed forces blah blah blah. Like I'm crazy like that, but no, like if I was there I would have probably like said something really bad and probably been banned because like really like I have nothing to lose over there. Like a lot of people that me and you LA were with there are gone now. So yeah.
Well, she never mind the fact that she was offending all the meat eaters because they're basically saying consuming animal products is murder.
rape,
They're
yeah.
calling them, the supporter of the animal holocaust. Yet
Yeah,
I'm not allowed to say that procreation is murder. That if you create a person who's going to die, that makes you a murderer. I'm supposed to walk
exactly.
on eggshells and care about her feelings when she doesn't care about anybody else's feelings.
No, she doesn't. Yeah, she's like calling us like murderers, rapists, like Nazis. I'm like, well, What if your kid grows up to be all of those things, right?
She literally was wearing a hat which said
Dairy is grape, yeah.
right. And so I was in the comment section. I said procreation is rape.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I
they should have no
understand why
problem.
they get to have their extreme statements and nobody can call them out. But if you say anything about their decision to procreate, all of a sudden you're supposed to be so
Saintly. Yeah, like a saint. You're supposed
considerate
to.
about their feelings.
Yeah, what the hell? That makes no sense. You see, these people don't care about other the fucking guy who hosted that channel, he says he cares about feelings. He really doesn't, by the way. He doesn't. No, he doesn't. It's been proven time and time again that he's willing to let his so-called friends get harassed on the show multiple times. So no, I don't think he actually does care.
No, they don't. I just think it's virtual signaling.
It is.
It's really about their own narcissism. It's more about them than it is about the animals. They get to be morally superior. They get to be proxies for the animals. And then basically most people will submit to them because it's about the animals, right? So do what
Yeah.
I say, otherwise you're a bad person. And then they will use that as, to get their foot in the door to control other behavior too. They
Yeah.
will. It's not just about the consumption of animal products. They will say that you should get vaccinated. They will talk about what kind of car you drive. Um, they these stupid conversations. They will even talk about things like Skittles. Like, oh, is Skittles vegan
Oh
or
my God, yeah. No, I've actually heard that debate went down. Like, is like the normal sugar products we eat vegan because some of them could contain bone like essence, because I don't know why, but I have argued for that. I'm like, dude, chill the fuck out. Okay, so if that's the case, then like your phones are not vegan, like by like a default. Your house isn't vegan because guess what? By you turning on the fucking lights, you're actually draining a lot of the resources that the animals are actually being deprived of too. There's that too. Like what the fuck? It makes no sense. Like,
but they don't
yeah,
care about the Africans who had to be enslaved to produce the metals in their cell phones. Because those humans don't matter. They're not
sure.
animals.
That's kind of the crazy thing though, is that they'll say they're like socialist or like leftist or like a progressive. They care about the rights of humans, but then when like push comes to shove, whenever we don't meet their strict standards of having their diet, we're fucking dead to them. We're fucking like a good as dead in their eyes, right? We're fucking like worse than Hitler. We're like a psychopaths and narcissist retards, like, so like, well, okay, if that's how you really think about people like me and everyone else in the world, then like what's the point of me trying to be cordial with you? Like, you obviously already have revealed yourself. You have revealed your true feelings now. There's no going back after that point.
And since they feel that way, why aren't they actively advocating for MAID that would get a lot of us out of here that want nothing to do with this place, that
Exactly.
do that do eat meat and will
Yeah.
continue to as long as we're here. But once that happens, well, they're not going to eat the meat anymore, but they'd still rather you be here.
For
It's
whatever reason. That's the
yeah.
part that gets me, is that like they want to be heartless, but for some reason they still have like that one false sense of like empathy or compassion that they think they have, even though they don't. It's kind of like, it's very like a mangled, mutated form of compassion. Very, because it's like, hey, I don't really care if you live or die, but please don't die under like my conscience, because like I still have some form of guilt inside me that's primitive. Yeah, that's fucking how it goes with these people. These people are beyond help. Like most people are, but these ones specifically, like
The,
they're beyond it.
the only one who was reasonable was Gary Yorsky because he does support me.
That's good. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't
So
catch
many
that
people
live
talk about him.
stream. Didn't seem like I missed too much. I didn't catch that live stream. Can't, from the sounds of it, doesn't sound like I really missed out on anything.
Nah, you weren't.
But
It was like a fucking like a vegan circle jerk, essentially. Yeah.
Just an echo chamber. But it's like, yeah, I mean, just like we're talking about when it comes to mate and whatnot, it's like they have well and full knowledge that the majority of people that would take mate, it because that's our, you know, that's our autonomous right, or at least it should be,
Yeah.
are most likely and would be meat eaters, and that would cut down on a lot of that consumption. Yet it sounds like this Gary guy advocated for it or is in support. So kudos to him. But for the most part, these people, they don't even touch it or talk about it like at all.
It's a complete breakdown of the social contract. The social contract, I mean, humans are supposed to be the primary benefactors, right? It's supposed to benefit us. I'm not saying that animals can't benefit, but they're secondary. They're secondary benefactors. And so if animals can be euthanized, but humans can't, humans must suffer, then why? I mean, how does the social contract benefit me? It's basically enslavement us. We're the ones who have to pay taxes, obey the laws, and then they get benefit. They get the benefit. The animals can be euthanized, but you must suffer. You just have to be miserable and experience pain and just age and die a natural death. I'm
Yeah.
not sure why anybody would support that.
Hmm. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Now, here's the thing, guys. I'm actually gonna be open and honest. Like, I can see the appeals of veganism. I'm like also reducing red meat too a lot in my diet. You know, like I can actually see the ethical considerations of it, but at the same time, like I'm a realist. Like, we live in a very entrenched system of like a technique. I'm reading now the Technological Society by Jacques Ellul, right? I Yeah, so like it pretty much says that like everything we do is pretty much like if we live like in a civilization, like in like this civilized world, we're pretty much entrapped inside like the logic of like efficiency and like necessity. It's more than just machines. It's literally the mindset that invades everything of like super rationalization, convenience, and just pure efficiency. So everything you do, as long as you live inside the modern world, is already compromised. Essentially, like there is no way out of here, out of this systematic oppression that like civilization has entrenched in us with like the rise of a, a technique which is machines, but also like the mindset that comes with it, propaganda as well. So yeah, like there is like no way out of this at all.
Grabina offers a solution to getting out of this, and I think it's pretty good.
But it's still, but I've read it and like it still seems pretty unrealistic because the population's too big for it. Like 8 billion people to have what he wants. I don't think that's possible. Yeah.
He wants 100-year plan to scale down civilization.
Yeah.
But you can't, but there's out of all those solutions that they offer, you can't get out the system. You can't get out the matrix and be vegan, because if you're going to go off the grid and produce your own food, that basically means eating eggs, fishing, hunting. It basically means not being dependent on grocery stores and B12 supplements and their mock meat. So you basically have to trade your liberty in order to put the
Yeah.
animals first. I
Absolutely.
don't
Yeah.
understand how low your self-esteem has to be to not give a shit about yourself or your own children and put the welfare of a pig first. Like, no,
Hmm.
I'm not. I'm if I ever get enough money to where I can be self-sufficient and homestead, I want to get off the grid. I don't want to live in a large city.
Yeah. Exactly. Same here. But I don't know. Maybe I'll like share spaces between that because like I am used to living in like an urban place. Unfortunately, I am like like a gross urbanite in some ways. But like I wouldn't mind living like in like the jungles of Thailand or like Indonesia or Malaysia. Those are some very beautiful places. I like those places a lot. Like I wouldn't mind living in like the jungles of like Southeast Asia and just chilling there for like the rest of my life. Yeah, but like that's still far, far in my future, and who knows if my health is going to be intact for me to even do that by the time I want to do that, you know. Like so yeah, like so I'm just moving to somewhere else, you know, with family, another place. Because like, you know, it's just like, and plus like the wealth gap, vegans do not take account for like, you know, the wealth gaps either. Like they think that, you know, you can just get all of the nutrients with like the bare bones, you know. It's not really accurate. Some people are like nutrient deficient, and they need certain things in their diets, you know.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to touch on what LA said because the exact that's the exact rhetoric I wanted to take things because the vegan utopia that they picture, it's a complete contradiction because the vegan utopia only exists within the meat eating system, within the factory farming system.
Yeah.
So you can't have one without the other because if you reverted back to nature, you would just starve and die trying to become a
Hunt.
vegan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, trying to become, you can become like a vegetarian. Oh, you can have eggs and cheese, stuff like that. Yeah, like, yeah, but like to be a pure vegan, like
Even to
in
be
like,
a vegetarian, it would be significantly harder and not in the realm of nature. You'd still be living outside of the realm of nature, even if you could pull it off somehow.
yeah, and that also reminds me of like the fact that here's the thing, herbivores, right? They're not always exclusively herbivores. So like I have seen cows like swallow like a whole hen before on camera. Seriously, I've seen cows like swallow like whole fucking like a chicks before. I have seen a deer eat a snake on camera before. That shit looks so surreal to me, like a deer eating a snake. I've
That's
seen
Right.
that's
There's not a
because they
single there's not a single pure herbivore on the planet. All animals are opportunistic omnivores.
exactly, yeah. So like, y-
that's because they ascribe to Allay's philosophy of convenience.
yeah, those animals, yeah, yeah. Like if there's not enough like fresh grass, which is becoming scarcer and scarcer, like you know the phrase, uh, go touch grass. Well, that's starting to become stupid because like most of the grass now is filled with plastics anyway, and I think the animals can also sense that too. So that's why, you know, we're seeing deer like eating snakes. We're seeing like rabbits eat each other. Like yeah, rabbits like sometimes they will eat their young and like cannibalize their young. Chimps sometimes will also cannibalize each other's. I think also gorillas too, even though they're primarily herbivores. Those sharp teeth exist for a reason, and sometimes they also chomp down on their own. Yeah.
Right. So if all animals eat other animals, then their issue isn't really with animal consumption. Their issue is with life. Like they have a resentment of life, but they're contradicting themselves. They basically want life without blood. They um,
Yeah, that reminds me. Didn't one of them say that they should kill all the carnivores?
Yeah, that's like
yeah.
another stupid thing that they say too, is that they say we should kill all of the fucking carnivores because like we there should be no like predation anywhere. Yeah.
I think Fatima dropped out. But yeah, I mean, it just
Yeah.
goes to show they don't understand basic biology or anything real.
Biology, nature, yeah, the actual nuances of nature, they don't understand that shit.
Without the carnivores, what are all the herbivores gonna do? Eat
Probably
all
like cannibalize each other.
No, without carnivores, the
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 plants?
herbivores would um, overpopulate and they would basically go extinct because they would overgraze.
Yep. But
So they
I
don't
mean,
understand
you
the whole
told them
circle.
that.
They don't understand how things stay in balance.
You told them that, right? Like what? Did they respond to that point, or did you not get on that?
I've said it before, but I've had so many debates. I can't remember where I said that. But I know I told Noodles that, and they don't care. It goes in one ear and out the other.
Yeah, you know, I have debates with atheists. Not formal debates. I just go on their channels. I've never been invited like you, but it's like the same thing. Like
I just turned it off.
you know, they were basically telling me I don't care why this is God. Demonstrate why this is God. And then they're basically like, let me as an atheist tell you what God is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That convo we had. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they're more logical than the vegan, but I mean, it's really still just a lack of philosophy and lack of understanding of morals. Really, I don't think atheists generally understand morality because they're generally statists. But you know, same goes
Yeah.
with the vegans. They seem like a bunch of statists too.
Yeah. They are. Even though
Well,
they're. Oh, sorry.
no, you can go ahead.
They are status because they want to use like status methods to eradicate like all the carnivores. Like they wanted to eradicate predation. Like hear this out. Like a vegan who is against killing and exploiting animals wants to use the state to kill all one type of animal: lions, cougars, hyenas, dogs, cats, rats, fucking hamsters. What the fuck, you know?
Well, yeah, but I think most anarchists are also atheists. So, I mean, I'm not going to say that all or most atheists are anarchists, but yes, I think if you're an anarchist, you're probably an atheist.
It depends.
Yeah, I just wanted to push back on set scales just a little bit. I have to disagree saying that most atheists lack morals, because if you look at the global trends, it's generally the less religious countries, not always, but in a general sense, that have the lower crime, the lower theft, overall a more moral, whatever you want to make that out to be, way of life. Now, me personally, I'm an agnostic, but I wouldn't go as far to say atheists lack morals, because I think the numbers kind of contradict that. Because let's take, for example, China. China is the most atheistic country. Of course, they have like, ancestral beliefs and whatnot, and there is different religions in China. Don't get me wrong, but it's not as much of a part of their life as most like Middle Eastern or Latin America, North America, and they have some of the lowest crime rates, and they live what would be a more moral sense of life than most other people.
China's immoral. They're literally an authoritarian communist nation.
How about Sweden? How about the Scandinavian countries? Those countries have like a high prevalence of like irreligion.
No, I'm not speaking on the Chinese government. I'm speaking on the Chinese people.
I want to be clear, because they're suppressed. But I want to be clear that I don't consider most religious people to be moral either.
And I can accept that. But the Chinese government that is perpetuating that sort of oppression, in a sense, aren't so much atheists, because they see themselves as gods. It's the people that
free government
portray more of a, their crime rates, if you look at the numbers, are much lower than most, not just United States, but most religious countries in general. And then you got things like Sweden, the Netherlands, Germany. I mean, I think Germany has a good amount of religion, so maybe not that one. Norway. A lot of these countries didn't get a rise in crime until a whole bunch of religious people immigrated there that start causing trouble. So that's my opinion.
culturally diverse people. And as Fatima was bringing up Norway and the Scandinavian countries, the reason that they've been so moral and good looking on from the outside is because they're very tight knit and closed off to foreigners. They
Yeah,
they have their own culture. They stay to their culture, and they don't. They defend that.
historically, yeah, they've always been, until recently, of course, like the past like 15 years, they've been more open with the world, and now they're starting to see like the effects of like the multiculturalism, Which, by the way, I don't have anything against people from like other cultures. It's just that I don't think it's a good idea to like forcefully mix those things so fast. Like it's just because like having those groups mixed at that fast of a rate is in the interest of like the statists, the elites, and like the capitalists and the people who support like a technocracy. It's not in the interest of anyone else but them.
And to touch on that,
'Cause
Fatima, I think even though the Scandinavian countries traditionally had a more homogenous, more culturally, they were more similar in culture because they all spoke the same language, they're all the same ethnicity, this and that. But at the same time, I think if you imported a bunch of Chinese or Japanese or Korean, well, I think Korean has a lot of religion, but what I'm getting at, if you imported a bunch of Chinese and a bunch of Japanese into these Scandinavian countries, I don't think the crime rate would go up very much at all.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too, because like another country that has like no crime rates, the one I would talk about here sometimes, it's Singapore. That country went from like a very poor country to a very rich country that's very clean and extremely safe, even though they have like a draconian laws. And the ruling elite has historically always been Han Chinese. Like the first founder was Chinese, and like I think ever since him, it's the ruling party has been full of Chinese people. The People's Party Power. I think that's what the name of the party is. But yeah, so like yeah, like if it's like East Asian people, even Thai people, like those people wouldn't cause too many issues because like I believe Thailand also has like a very like harsh like tough on crime mentality as well. So there's like a Malaysia, Cambodia, because like drugs there are very strict, especially Indonesia. Holy shit! I know one YouTuber who died there because like I think, or he probably committed like self deletion. But he died inside Indonesia. But originally he was arrested for having like a few grams of like weed on him, and that was enough for him to get like a 12-year sentence. Yeah, I think that's like the law there in Indonesia. If you even have like a small ounce of drugs there, you'll get like a 12 to 20 years sentence.
Can I ask
Yeah.
a question? I don't want to detract too much from veganism, but do you think that
Yeah.
if the United States never declared war on drugs, that countries like Indonesia would even have them legalized?
Yeah, I think so because like America started the war on drugs. Yeah, like why do you think America's like first like the number one producer of drugs, right? Like even fucking countries like Cuba are like starting to speak out like, hey, you're literally using our waters to like traffic drugs from like Colombia and Peru through like our waters, and like that's where we're like shooting like random people coming on boats to our island because like you're literally making these people come to your country. So yeah.
And they always want to declare a war on drugs, but they never want to ask the question, why are people using all these hardcore drugs? It's not a failure on the person. It's just a failure to this existence that we're forced into such a miserable place that people seek out those outlets of escape. They never want to touch on that. They just want to say, oh, he's a crackhead, he's a junkie. But they never want to ask the question, what drove that person to use that? And no, they just want to shame people for it.
At the same
Yeah,
time,
and
just
I
think
think all drugs should be sold in the free market. I'm not in support of gatekeeping.
Me neither.
Think of all the drugs they inject into our food and the animals that make up our food and plants.
Yeah, exactly. Hormones and shit like that. Yeah, preservatives, additives. Like it's fucking numerous how many things they're like placing inside us, inside the food, inside the trees, the grass, the fucking air, you know?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Yeah, it's really a fucked up place we live in. Yeah, like it's just very lost, you know. It's very like a disgruntled place. And for some reason, these fucking vegans think that if we just stop eating meat and if we're more eco, if we're more like cautious about eating stuff and exploiting animals, then we solved all our problems. No, animals are just one side of it. The human side of it also counts too. That's one thing. Like I fucking heard clips from that panel the other day, right? And the guy Gary was like, "It's not speciesist to say that like, oh, animals mean more than humans." I'm like, no, it is. It is speciesist. Like, you're literally saying that like a cow is more like important than like a child in like a third world country starving, essentially. And he has said stuff like that too. By the way, I've seen Gary like talk about other things. And he has said pretty much that he doesn't care if like other parts of the world are like suffering, going through wars and genocide. He cares if they eat meat. If they do, then he's gonna care less now, you know, because like he thinks that the true Holocaust is with the animals, you know.
Do you think they have preferences of what animals they like over others? Like would they prefer to save other animals?
They
Would that be
prefer
just
so-called herbivores. That's what they prefer.
Herbivores, even though there's no such thing as a pure herbivore, quote unquote.
the
Yeah,
overlords? Oh, herbivores. Oh yeah, herbivores.
herbivore. Yeah, herbivores. Yeah. Yeah, there's no such thing as a true herbivore. There isn't, you know, fucking deers eat like mice sometimes. Like, come on, guys, you know, like, you don't understand biology. Like, if vegans have a crude understanding of biology and, like, sometimes a nutrition, you know, it's just like, whoa, you know, it's like, educate yourself first, knowing that, hey, this diet might work for you, but it won't work for someone else. It might work for a lot of people, but it also still won't work for like another group of people, and to shame and like, you know, chastise them for not being that. Yeah, that's just like, what the fuck, like that's how you lose people,
Yeah, there
you know.
was one video I watched of a vegan where he was talking to this Buddhist guy who was also a vegan. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but the vegan guy, and this was his own channel, he posted this himself, was just going in like and shaming this Buddhist guy hard. I don't even like, and he was a vegan, but he just wasn't the standard that the vegan YouTuber wanted him to be.
They
But
have
the,
a hierarchy, just like antinatalists do.
the Buddhist guy is pretty
Oh yeah,
calm
they
though.
do have a hierarchy.
I was
Yeah.
told by an antinatalist that I'm a conditional natalist simply for the fact that I consume meat. I mean, I've never had a child in my life, never will. I'm in my 30s. Couldn't imagine. I mean, couldn't pay me enough to do that, and they want to label me as a natalist, which is why I've
Yeah,
gotten away from that
purity.
label and moved towards being an abolitionist instead, because that more grounds on what I'm aligned with.
Right, and I do say
Yeah.
that in my book that, you know, you can't hijack life abolitionism. This is about humans. It's not about animals. I think animals can benefit if humans stop procreating. Then we don't harm animals. But it's not. I'm not putting animals first.
Yeah, like it's kind of weird to put them first because like they don't make policy. They don't like decide our future. Like, you can feel bad for them. I do. I used to have pets. You know, I love them, and I always said I'd rather have a pet than like a human child. But at the same time, like when push comes to shove, you know, like the people who run my life, you know, they're you know, humans, and I have to prioritize dealing with them than dealing with anything else, you know. And guess what? The people who exploit animals are other humans too. But like me, like abstaining from eating meat isn't going to change their minds at all.
It's
You
a side
know,
effect.
they
It's
don't
not
have
the
that.
main issue.
Yeah, exactly. It is a side effect. Yeah, like
Like the meat that I buy is always like on clearance. It's basically a lost product. If I don't buy it, it's just going to be thrown away. So I'm not sure how I'm actually contributing, but I'm not even going to argue that because I know how they see it. If anybody who consumes animal products is contributing to the animal holocaust. So I think it's best to not even engage with them. If they're not trying to hear you
Yeah,
out,
it's
again, remember that they want something from you. They want you to change your diet. They will claim that veganism isn't a diet, but clearly it is because that's the part that they want you to change about your lifestyle.
It is. No, it is a diet. Like they say it's a lifestyle. No, bro. First it's a diet, then it's a lifestyle, you know. That's how it works, you know, like it just
If it,
it
if
just
it
doesn't make
wasn't a diet,
Hmm?
if it wasn't a diet, they would address the root cause of the problem, civilization, like
Yeah,
LA said
exactly.
too.
Yes. That's the point. That is the point. They don't address fucking technological society. I would take a vegan more seriously if they were an or like and like anarchist or like anarcho, like a primitivist, right? But majority of them think that's too extreme. So I'm like, then what the fuck is the point? You won't even go the extra mile that like I think is required. Like that makes no sense. Like you literally said that you hate like humans more than
But they won't
animals.
give us made.
You literally
Well, what Noodle
yeah.
said is he
That's
wants to make it against the law to consume animal products, that you should actually go to jail for consuming animal products. I mean, wouldn't it just be easy to support May? Like, you just want to make this a dystopian
yeah.
hell hole where everyone's being, surveilled and reported to the government?
Yeah, it wouldn't work anyway. There
Right.
would
What
just be
the
a
hell?
black market that would emerge the next day, and it would just go on under the table instead of through the stores. That's not a solution.
That,
Mm.
that reminds me, LA.
Noodles is a cook
Um,
anyway. It doesn't matter.
I heard that a solution for like to rent for like if block cameras, for example, if people were sent to
Oh.
court for flock cameras and the juries decided to nullify the cases, then they wouldn't mean anything. What do you think of that?
Are you okay? Are you talking? Is there a way to like basically sneak a camera? Is that what you're talking about? Because most courts don't allow cameras. Like that's one of their rules.
No, flock
Oh really?
cameras are those. They're like a new surveillance type camera that track
Yeah,
people.
yeah, they're like outside, yeah. They're like AI based, I
Yeah,
think.
Right,
so
but you're saying that you would sneak it into the courtroom.
no, they're on the street. They're on streets, posted on corners, watching everyone.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
on streets now. Yeah, he's pretty much saying that now they have flood cameras everywhere, like spying on people now in like the streets and like the stoplights, you know, stuff like
yeah.
that.
So
Yeah.
I'm saying if people were caught violating policies or laws on these cameras, but the people decided that the cameras were illegitimate and nullified the cases, then these cameras wouldn't mean anything, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Not in the
exactly.
court
That's yeah. So
system,
these cameras.
but they would still be used by third parties for their interest because the court system with the flock cameras is just one side of it. There's many more aspects than just that. But it would help, but the issue would still be there. It's like, for example, oh, sorry, I'll let you can go ahead.
Well, the video footage is inadmissible unless there's foundation for it. That like there has to be an actual witness to get like testify to the veracity of the video to say I was there. This video accurately represents what I saw. You can't just have video footage without foundation. That's one of the rules of evidence. But I'm sure once they start using AI and shit, they're probably going to get rid of that too.
Yeah, so if they did get
Yeah.
rid of that and people nullified the cases anyway, then they would have no power. Or am I wrong?
Well, I mean, if people notify illegitimate laws, the system wouldn't have any power. That part is true, but it doesn't happen. The public is ignorant, and they actively support the state. So what happens more often than not is that the prosecutor will manipulate the jurors, and the jurors, they just want a pat on the head from the judge and the prosecutor. Like the defense attorney is has an uphill battle. They're not on the side of the defendant. Um, I would say that unless you're committing some kind of heinous crime like murder or sexual assault, if it's just something where I don't, something minor, a victimless crime, why would they want to punish somebody? But they get sadistic pleasure out of it. They're not on your side. I don't trust jurors anymore. They're not. I don't consider jurors to be my peers.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they kind of have like a bad reputation, or starting to have a bad
Bec-
reputation anyway. Like,
Because the people who would be my peer would never get chosen for a jury. And in my county, they choose jurors based on voter registration. I unregistered to vote because they kept calling me for jury duty. I would never get selected, but I would have to take a whole day off work, and I got tired of that shit. I'm not voting anymore. I stopped doing. I did it because I wanted to support Jill Stein, but I was trying to convince her to like advocate for medical assistance in dying, but that went nowhere.
yeah, like even like the most like anti-establishment, like or even like the most like a progressive person in America isn't really gonna take Made seriously for whatever reason. Like I don't even think the Democratic Socialist of America take that shit seriously. Like fucking like I don't see like a Zora and Mamdani in like New York trying to like make Made like legal like anywhere. That's not his policy. Even though it actually could be a policy of his because he's very pro like autonomy.
They
Stuff
won't
like
touch
that,
it.
Oliver
Yeah.
Chase did. He was a libertarian candidate.
Oliver Chase. Okay.
And because I vote based on the questionnaires, they all said that they would support it, but all of them said that they would support it with. Let me just clarify the position. They said with some type of psychological evaluation. That's Trump, Jill Stein. Who else? The only person who was outright against it was Kamala Harris. She was against it under all circumstances. Oliver Chase didn't want any
Wow.
restrictions on it. I probably should have voted for Oliver Chase instead of Jill Stein, but at this point, I'm just not voting anymore because I'm just tired of not getting what I want. I'm a single issue voter, and if no politician is advocating for unregulated medical assisted dying, then I have no reason to vote.
Me neither.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, like I'm 25 and I haven't voted for anything in my life in terms of like the general and even local elections. No, because I know deep down it's bullshit. Like this whole like it's just fucking Britain's circuses here in the US. It just is. Like I don't know why people can't see that. Well, now they're starting to now. People are starting to see, okay, it is a fucking like a duopoly. It's an illusion of two parties when it's just one.
It's not free
party,
choice.
They're starting to. Yeah, exactly. They're starting to see that. I already knew that when I was 18 years old. So it's taking people long enough.
Because they select the people you vote for, so they really couldn't care less who wins or who doesn't, because they're gonna get what they want out of it anyway.
Yeah, which is money and media donations, because like these politicians, they're also part-time media figures as well. Like everyone has their stars. Trump has like Hulk Hogan and Kid Rock, and Kamala had Beyonce and Jay-Z and others. That's just how it is. It's pretty much like an illusion of like a power struggle when like it was already established inside this system.
Exactly.
Who is who,
And if anybody does slip through the cracks, then they'll just run a media campaign on them. They'll make allegations about them, just the worst of the worst. Whatever they need to do to get that person out of motion, like Ron Paul, I feel like he would have been the best option between Barack Obama and Mitt Romney, because Ron Paul was running on
Yeah.
a libertarian platform. And then
And Ron
what's
Paul
that?
and Ron Paul was like aggressively anti-war, anti-neocon, anti-intervention. Like he was against the war in Iraq, Syria,
They got they
Libya.
got rid of Dennis
Mhm,
Kucinich
yeah.
too. Dennis Kucinich wanted universal health care. He supported same-sex marriage. He supported every liberal issue that they claimed to support, but I guess he was too liberal or too progressive, and they just get rid of people by redistricting. And if you live in a different
Yeah.
district, then you don't get enough votes. That's how they got rid of
Exactly. Yeah, that's
what's her name? The black lady. The
where.
black lady in Texas, who everybody, I don't know, Republicans hate her, but I can't think of her damn name.
I forgot her
Sathina
name.
Kenny. No, she was in Georgia. She was in
Yeah.
Georgia, not Texas. She was another good
I
one.
keep forgetting her too, but she was like a big one too. Yeah, like that's her. And I think somewhere else, yeah, but I think now recently a lot of like what we call like further left American politicians are starting to like get like elected. Like the biggest one is the guy in New York City, Zoran Mamdani, and like I think he's interesting, but I wouldn't say I'm a fan of him per se, because like he's not really doing much to like penetrate the already established billionaire fucking playground that is NYC. Like I don't think his socialist policies are going to like penetrate that much. Maybe some like wealth redistribution here and there,
Wealth
and that's about it.
redistribution isn't enough, and it's
It's
not going to
not.
work anyway, because the people creating all the wealth are who's selecting the candidates in the first place, so they're never going to be on board with that.
Yeah.
Until I see somebody come out and say, instead of dumping billions of dollars into Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Israel, all these different places that have zero bearing or effect on us, and say, hey, let's take advantage of technology and 3D print a house for every homeless person and offer somebody basic shelter provided by the government. Until I see that, I'm not wasting my time.
Yeah.
Exactly. Don't no, and that's what not even Zoran is doing. That he's doing some small like concessions, like freezing rent and making like the bus fare free, and like as I said, wealth free distribution, and making like the libraries free again.
And that's just a band-aid
besides that-
approach.
It's a band-aid approach, yeah, and but it's not improving lives in the long run. It's a very short term. Like, hey guys, look, this is like my D plus, achievements, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about Jasmine Crockett. They redistrict her, and that's why she's going to be out of office in January.
Yeah, and like Rand Paul,
Oh, yeah.
not Rand Paul. Ron Paul's son is terrible. He's just like any other establishment politician. He's one with the crowd. But Ron Paul, they went on Fox News and they said, "Oh, Ron Paul hates the military because he's anti-war," when his main voter base were veterans that saw through the bullshit.
Exactly. Yeah, that's not through the bullshit. That's not through. He was against all of the fucking war. There was the only good American politician I like, as I think you guys knew, like Thomas Massey. He's the only good one. The only good one that's like in office. He's like a Congress. He's like a senator. Like Thomas Massey is like the only good like American politician right now. The only good one.
And he already got weeded out. His term, he didn't get reelected because they did their usual
APEC.
playbook.
Yeah, playbook of buying out the opposition and like leaving him on the curve essentially. Yeah, so that's what happened. It's so crazy how that literally happened in like everyone's faces, and some people still still won't want to claim that we're like a free democratic country. No, we're not.
When a foreign nation put $30 million into that election, the most they've ever spent on essentially a flyover state or a drive-through state of Kentucky. That's
Kentucky, exactly.
yeah.
They literally got so threatened because Thomas Massey was aggressively against any type of foreign intervention, like exactly like Ron Paul, except he's more younger and sharper now because Ron Paul is older now. But Thomas Massey is still in his prime, you know, he's still in office, he's still like well, not anymore, but yeah, like he has experience. He's been in the game long too, you know. That's why they were scared of him because he was calling out the bullshit everywhere, you know, everywhere.
Well, people were claiming that he was anti-Semitic.
That too. Oh my god! Don't even get me like. I was.
He was
accused of-
anti-Semitic for not wanting to send millions of dollars to blow up Semitic people.
Yeah, come on, guys. Like, think, like Jesus, and like, that word has no meaning to me anymore. Like, if you are accused of that nowadays, like, consider yourself like a damn good job because like that's how you know you're like getting underneath someone's skin if they call you that. Because I've been called that all the fucking time recently, and like I don't care. Like I'm like okay, so whatever. That's like I'm not against, you know. It's whatever to me, you know. It's just, it's cool. Yeah, because he was anti-Semitic, and they even call fucking Zoran anti-Semitic when literally half of his like admin is Jewish, like too. Yeah, just because he doesn't want any more some money to go to like from like NYC to like Tel Aviv that like makes him completely anti-Semitic. Yeah, totally. You know.
Yeah, it's like
just
how
really-
Ron Paul, they said, oh, he wants to decriminalize drugs. Then Fox News and CNN and all the rest of it went on their station and said, Ron Paul supports your child smoking heroin tomorrow. So, you know, and then it's ridiculous just because he advocates for self-ownership.
Yeah, for self-ownership and self-responsibility is gonna get called like a person who wants to see your kids die of like drugs. Like what the fuck? Yeah, yeah, it's like these people like they rather have like fucking like you know the elites rather have you vote for someone like John Fetterman in fucking like Philadelphia. Like oh my god, John Fetterman. Oh fuck, I hate him. I hate John Fetterman. You know, he's like the worst type of dem ever. You know.
And there's no transparency. It's like with these elections anyway. I mean, these are the people that are printing the money, you know, the Federal Reserve System, they're all tied in with this. They want what's in their best interest. So who's to say they don't just come out and tell you on the news, oh, this person won with absolutely no proof to back it up other than just telling you the amount of people that voted for it with absolutely no checks and balances. It's rigged. Just like to get back on the jury system, I think they rigged the trials against people they want gone as well. It's all connected.
Yeah, it is all connected. Yeah, for sure. You know, like we could have had fucking like you know Ron Paul as president, Thomas Massey, or fucking back in the 1960s, Barry Goldwater was like a good candidate. Yeah, Barry Goldwater. He was like against like foreign like intervention in like the 1960s. Yeah, believe it or not, like against Vietnam and stuff like that. But nope, he was like rammed off like the stage, you know, and it became once again the like fucking Dems versus Reps. So it's like what the fuck, you know? It's like it's so weird that America is only allowed to have two parties run and that's it. And maybe sometimes like the Green Party, you know, because they were big in like 2016 and 2024. Like those two elections is when I saw them get the most attraction, you know. So yeah, but no one really talks about them outside of like election seasons. So yeah. Unfortunately,
They sprinkle stuff like that in there just to give people hope and still keep people locked into the system. I don't feel like there is a political solution at this point.
oh no, yeah. I was just saying, you know, like it's just very
Absolutely,
funny how-
I'm in agreement. Absolutely. What do you think, LA? I don't see a political solution out of this.
No, I agree. I think the system has failed. I mean, I I don't know if you read chapter 11 of my book. I call for dismantling the state through I call for demographic collapse. That if you abstain from
Yeah.
procreation, dismantle the state. And basically, if they want you to procreate, then you should get something for it. Stop giving in to their demands. Stop capitulating. If they're not going to help you with your quality of life, why are you rewarding the state with more children? Like, that's the only thing they care about. They need workers. They need subjects, and so they keep talking about the declining birth rate. So, um, you're giving them exactly what they want, and yeah, the government is unresponsive. I just don't think that they care, and also democracy dilutes the power of the vote anyway. It becomes diluted to an extent that all our votes become irrelevant.
Huh.
Irrelevant. So, why they have to listen to you as an individual when there's 320 million people in the country?
And
I
what's
think it's not
ironic is
even
it's
worth.
driving natalism as well. It's like you got people on the left, they're trying to, get as many kids as they can so they can build up their votes, and people on the right-wing nationalism, left-wing nationalism, it all ties back in with
Populism.
natalism. So either
It
way, the
does.
state is getting what they want at the end of the day.
Yeah, which is more, human capital. That's all they want is human capital. And like, if either side's gonna hand them that, then they like them both because both sides hand them that human capital. Both the right wing and the left wing, the populists here in America, they will always serve the interest of the surveillance state, the system, because there is no true opposition in America. It's just the bread and circuses and the facade of one. As cliche as it sounds, even though some people think that we can vote our way out of this. No, you cannot vote your way out of like the fucking like Leviathan that is the state now, and like the society of like a technique and efficiency. There's no way you can vote that out. You have to dismantle it through any means that you may want.
Which refraining from reproduction and advocating for mate is the strongest approach to do so.
It is like, yeah, exactly. And I don't know why people have like. I'm now for MAID now. Like I'm completely for. Earlier this year, when LA first met me, I was pretty kind of skeptical of it. But I think after much considerations and like just like recent events, I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, yeah, I'm just gonna like I can see some like the validity in this thing. Because there are some days where I wish I had that stuff. Just like, oh my god, yeah, come on, like end it painlessly. Like I don't care. Like most
I'm
of
at
the
the
world.
point where it's every single day for me.
Yeah.
I never consented to the system. I never consented to be tied down to their monetary supply, their political system. If this is the way it's going to pan out, then just get me the fuck out,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like it's just not fair for anyone to like, and like there are painless ways to do it thanks to fucking ironically technology. But hey, if I'm gonna be trapped here in like the society of fucking technique, then I'm gonna use its own tools to actually benefit what I want, because there's no other way at this point. There really isn't. So yeah, like if they're gonna be here forever, then I'm just gonna take advantage of that so I can have my own version of like a forever, if you know what I mean.
Well, but you're in good health now, but something could
I am.
happen and you might want that right later. So it doesn't mean that
Yeah.
you want to avail yourself of it now, but I think
No.
everybody should be able to die on their own timeline.
Yeah, exactly. Whenever they want. I'm not saying I want it now. I'm just saying that there are some moments where I can see and sympathize having that view, and I would hopefully one day, LA, your vision might come true for like the world, and maybe one day down the line, somewhere in the future, it could just be there, at like a push of like a button.
I don't want to sound too pessimistic, but not that I'm disparaging the abolitionist movement because I consider myself a part of it, but at the same time, I have to look around and see how the politics is playing out on this. And I just don't see it in my lifetime. I think at the very best we'll possibly get is people will have the right under very conditional circumstances, and that to me that's probably best case scenario, because it's just like, yeah, just the masses which hold the, well, I mean, it's not even so much the masses, it's other factors, but that's just part of it. That's the most, that'd be the most useful factor to get some skin in the game, is to get some support on it. But we don't even have that. It's like in Canada, it seems like they're trying to restrict it over there,
They
which
are
is known for more liberal
they will
program. And
they will restrict it, and like all of the stories about like it being uncontrolled, they're a bit inflated because those people already have like health issues already at hand. Like the majority of those stories are like alarmist stories to make like euthanasia look like horrible and careless, when like no, like half of them already had preconceived conditions of like psychological, mental, and like physical health already. There's already a context to it. It's just that dumb Christians and dumb right wingers want to like have you alive, even though they hate you, like for whatever reason. God knows
just like the
why.
vegans.
Exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
well, the thing is,
Yeah.
if the public doesn't support it, then the plan B is that they have to pay to maintain your involuntary existence. You should not have
Yeah.
to exist against your will and then maintain a life that you don't
Work.
even own. So if they want to keep you against the will, it's not in their financial interest if they're going to have to pay for it. So right now they're talking about the state's interest and the public and all this other shit. Okay, fine, then pay for it. So the way that I structure this proposal, which I'm hoping to get, well, I can't do it now, but I hope to get on the ballot like in what is this, 2028. The way that it's worded, I don't know that it'll get passed the first time around, but the wording is very important, and I think it's kind of hard to get past that. So at the very least, it'll stir up a national debate, and then if I get enough money raised, if I get enough support, then hopefully I'll be able to get it done. Not in 2028, but maybe in 2030. I don't know, but it's probably going to take me some time to get it done. But it depends on how much money I'm able to raise.
Yeah, and I'd certainly like to see that and support you all the way. But we definitely have a uphill battle, uphill mountain when it comes to get this opinion normalized that you should have self-ownership, disposal rights. I mean, that's to us it's common sense, but to the general population, it's you may as well have just slap their grandmother in the face or something. It's just I don't even know where to start with these types.
Well, that's why it's so important that I'm fighting for decriminalization, not legalization. If it's decriminalized, then you own your life. If it's legalized, then the state still is basically putting restrictions on it and determining who can and who can't do it. When I was having that discussion last night with the vegans, and they're talking about the animals, like the animal babies being taken from their mothers, I'm just like, yeah, but we don't own our lives either. And they were very dismissive. Oh, yes, we do. No, we don't. They just make a lot of assumptions about the way things should be, but they don't. And of course, they didn't allow me to speak because I could have explained and proven that we don't actually own our lives.
And they'll never listen. It's like I've listened to a lot of your podcasts. I've been listening to your podcast for about 3 months now and love everything I'm hearing. But it's like you'll get these people on the other side that'll join your room and come out with these very, very weak and not even accessible arguments, but they still stand on them as if they're the gospel. For example, I remember one guy was saying, well, one's if somebody doesn't have the mental capacity to do so. It's like, well, you have no problem with liquor stores being on every single corner that people can start drinking as soon as they get into their car and put you in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. Like you have no problem with that liability, but you're not willing to take on the well, if you want to call it a liability, because there's almost a liability with anything in life. You'll never get to the point where it'll be completely, just across the board, but there's there's benefits, and to some extent I don't see any sacrifices, but what they would see as sacrifices, like, oh, someone doesn't have the mental capacity to consent to that, this, that's, third. But they got no problem with people that have an alcohol problem driving drunk every single day, or liquor stores in every corner getting loaded and making you paralyzed. They're okay with that liability, but they draw the line there. Which is a complete hypothetical they draw on anyway, which is not even proven in an argument sense.
Well, but they also don't care about the inability to consent to being brought into existence. I didn't have the capacity to consent to life, so they still procreate anyway, and then they just think that you should just forget about that part of it. Most people who vote are incompetent. They don't have enough information to even decide public policy, yet they do it anyway, even though it impacts other people's lives. There's a lot of things where people don't have the proper capacity to do shit, but they do it anyway. I just think that's it's a distraction. It's a red herring. It's like, focus on the vulnerable, focus on the people who don't have the capacity, instead of giving the rights to the people who actually do have the capacity. And the way that I frame it is that there should be a presumption of competence, that unless you have evidence that someone isn't competent, then they should own their lives and they should be free to do whatever they want with it.
Absolutely. And these scenarios they come up with, it's never even happened in the places which I'm on board with you. It needs to be left up to the private sector instead of the public sector, because we don't need gatekeepers making decisions for us. But even in the private sector, we're not seeing situations where, I don't know, one guy came in and said if he's in psychosis, this and that. You're not seeing it. You're not even seeing it come to play the way they're saying it would where it happens. So I don't see where they're bringing this argument as if it's some kind of indisputable fact.
No, it's just enough to create doubt, to basically table the discussion and never move things forward. So when people come up here and present those types of arguments, I'm just not interested, because I find them boring. I find them very predictable, and this is the reason why we haven't gotten anywhere. So until we actually try it, we don't know. I mean, this is all speculation. It's just conjecture.
Yeah, and I think Canada is not even doing a very good job of what a regulated and correct market in what made should actually be like. I feel like Canada is dropping the ball so bad, the way they've rolled it out for a few different reasons, that it's actually doing the global push for a proper system more harm, because they're seeing Canada do it, which is engaging in organ harvesting. And I've heard accusations that Canada pressures it on people, and I believe in self-ownership, so I don't essentially agree with that either. I feel like people should make that decision themselves, because that's the only way you're ever going to have it sustainable long term.
Right. Right. And yeah, I have it all. I mean, I have it worded very carefully, and I just think we have to have a real discussion before we can actually implement it. And right now we're not doing that. Right now there's this talking around the issue. They're just they're just trying to push it off to the future, and nothing is actually getting done.
And I think part of that reason is we've got, a lot of people that acknowledge one side of the issues, yet completely silent. If they're not against it, they're not doing anything for it. So they might as well be against it because the same result is happening. People with these platforms, I'm not going to, name names or cause any internet flame wars, but you get these people coming onto YouTube on a weekly basis, speaking antinatalism, this and that. But okay, you're advocating for antinatalism, which I support. I am an antinatalist in core, in its value, what it's supposed to be, not this, hierarchical design, what it essentially turned out to be. But when you completely fall short on the other half, then you're becoming a sacrificial animal, like I said, just for the unborn, which is great. You're sparing the unborn, but let's fight for ourselves. I mean, we're the ones that still got to be stuck here.
Right. It don't make this whole idiocracy. I never saw that movie, by the way. That this argument about how anti-natalists should procreate because we're the ones who are more compassionate, we would actually create better children. I'm just like, that might be true, but they still didn't consent to that. And I mean, you can just as well adopt and raise children. So I don't know. I mean,
there's just so many different ways around it. I just want to jump in. I'm gonna have to jet out of here, LA, because my phone's about to die, and I need to go back inside. But I really appreciate you having me up on the stage, and thank you for allowing me to get my two cents out there and whatnot. So I appreciate the space. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Have a good night.